If you guys are even thinking about moving to Greenville, you're gonna wanna watch this video for 2026 because we are covering everything cost of living here in the upstate. The number one question we get asked from out-of-state people that want to move to the upstate is, can we afford to even live here? And I will say firsthand, yes, Greenville has gotten tons of notoriety and grown in popularity over the last decade. However, we are much more affordable than Charlotte and Atlanta by a landslide. In this video, we're going to cover the real cost of living, not just what it costs to buy a house, but also groceries, gas, taxes, and everything in between. So by the end, you understand what income it's going to take for you to live here comfortably. First things first, guys, let's talk about the big picture. I kind of call it the 30,000 foot view. It's helpful for you to understand that Greenville is clocked in on the index of 92% when it comes to cost of living. That's 8% cheaper than the national average. Those numbers are comprised of housing, utilities, and transportation. Now, these three categories make up the biggest part of our monthly budget, and here's the breakdown. First up to bat is obviously housing. That's going to be 34% of our cost of living. You also have utilities, that's about 7%. Then you have transportation sitting at about 11%. Then you've got groceries, another 11%. And then you have healthcare, which is sitting around 9%. That overall brings us well below the national average. Now let's talk about housing costs here in Greenville. And to me, this is where Greenville truly stands out because the average price right now is sitting around $390,000. While that does fluctuate throughout the year, the average nationally right now is $522,000. That's a 27% difference. And that's exactly why out-of-state people like Florida, New York, New Jersey, and even California flock here because of housing prices being significantly cheaper than those locations. Now, I have to be honest, $390,000 doesn't really go very far in those other locations, which is why they want to move here. At best, it might get you a condo or a small townhouse that's maybe 1,000 square feet. And here you can still find a very good neighborhood in a very good price for a very good size for $390,000. Now let's say you're not ready to buy yet. We have quite a few clients that do the same thing and they want to rent and understand and get a feel for the area first before they buy. Right now, the average cost for rental is about $1,200. And of course, that's going to vary on location, size, amenities, whether it's an old apartment or a new one. And when you compare that to the national average, we are still much more affordable. Next on the list, let's talk utilities. I know it's a boring subject, but it's also one that comes up in conversation when people want to move here. So it's helpful to know that Greenville, again, is cheaper in this dynamic as well because the average monthly cost for utilities is about $180. In comparison to the national average, where it's about $220 per month, that's 11% cheaper than other areas in the nation. South Carolina does rely heavily on coal and nuclear energy, so when people are moving here from out of state, they are seeing that their utility costs are pretty much the same or slightly lower than where they came from. Next up, let's talk transportation. Now, Greenville is still very much so dependent on a car-centric way to get around. We don't have a ton of transportation that is public, although we do have it. It's not the main source of how people do get around and navigate Greenville. That being said, gas prices are about 3% lower than the national average. Now look, guys, I moved to Greenville in 2003 from Orlando, so no one here can tell me about anything when it comes to traffic. Now, Woodruff Road is its own animal. That is in and of itself a parking lot, but there are other ways around Woodruff Road specifically, and overall traffic is really not that bad, guys. If you live here, you know what I'm talking about. Now, guys, let's talk Greenville healthcare. And Greenville healthcare is really where we clock in a little bit more expensive than the national average. It's actually clocking in at 8% higher than the national average. Now, we do have very strong healthcare systems here like Bon Secours and Prisma Health. Guys, we also just got wind that there is going to be a Charlotte-based medical care system that is going to be moving into the area called Novant. So while that cost is going to be higher in this area, it's also notable that we do have high quality medical care for the residents that live here. Now let's talk about everyone's favorite subject, taxes. Taxes are actually one of the biggest reasons why people move here. We are taxed at 6% on things that we choose to buy, as opposed to other places that's much lower. Number two, let's talk about property taxes. Now, if you don't live in the house that you purchase here in South Carolina, you're going to be taxed at 6%. However, Uncle Sam does give us a break. When we live in a primary house and we live here in South Carolina, we are taxed at 4%. Might not sound like a lot, but it actually triples your taxes, going from 4% to 6%. And another reason people choose to move here instead of Florida, for example, is we don't have any inheritance tax. Now let's talk about other personal things that you're going to pay taxes on. First of all, your personal vehicle. That's taxed at 6% right now. Let's talk about jet skis or boats. Right now, that's being taxed at 10.5%. However, legislation did just pass where they're going to move that from 10.5 down to 6. Now it's time to answer the big question you've been waiting on. How much am I going to need to make in Greenville if I want to live here comfortably? And the cost of living data shows that a single person should make about $45,000 a year, and families need to make about $68,000 a year as well. Now, of course, the caveat here is that's going to depend widely on your lifestyle choices and your housing choices. However, those incomes are much more attainable here than the national average. So overall, guys, Greenville is moderately more affordable than the national average when it comes to cost of living. We come in lower on housing, taxes, transportation, as well as utilities. The only category that we come in a little higher is going to be healthcare. I don't know about you, but when I actually need a doctor, I really do want a good one. Now guys, if you're thinking about relocating to Greenville and you want to know what area fits your budget, feel free to reach out to us. We would absolutely love to help. And we're going to talk through things like budget, of course, the areas that you like, what fits your lifestyle, and what kind of home you want to live in. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you want to know more about Greenville, subscribe to our channel, and as always, remember with DeLisle Properties, luxury always comes standard.